Setups are always tricky. They need to be as fast as possible to get the most out of the car, but at the same time, they should also provide decent handling to keep everything under control. In F1 2021, there is a simple trick to load up super fast setups that hold world records that are often created by esports pros. How that works and how you can fine-tune them, we'll show you in today's video. Okay, maybe you're asking yourself right now, setups, aren't they just 5 presets that differ in their downforce settings? How do you even build a custom setup? Easy! First, when in the garage, navigate to Session Info. Then go to the wrench icon to see your setup settings. And yes, there are presets to load here, but those are pretty understeery and often not really suited to maximizing your pace on any given track. So, choose the custom setup here and press Customize to change the setup manually. There are a lot of settings to play around with, and without sacrificing time, you probably won't know what to tweak first. But don't worry, we'll go into detail later. But for now, let's load a setup from other drivers that broke some world records. Let's start with time trial mode, as you can load setups that are there created by actual esports pros. So, load up a track and car combination that you want a setup for, and head over to the garage. Just as before, we select Session Info, but this time around, we take a look at the leaderboard. Here, you can see hundreds of different records given on the chosen track. To find a good setup for you, first check out the actual time achieved. Usually, with leaderboards like this, the first 2 to 3 lap times are not legit. So skip those and directly head to the achieved times that look fast but plausible. Next, we want to load a setup that didn't use any assists, even if you are driving with assists turned on. This way, we will guarantee that the setup is actually fast and doesn't need the help of assists to achieve those times. And lastly, read the names. Maybe you'll spot someone you actually know. Of course, the custom setup option has to be checked, otherwise they just won't have one. Afterwards, we select one of the record times and press Load Setup. Select OK, and voila! You're now driving with a custom setup. From there, we head back to the wrench icon, go to Custom Setup, and press the button for Save/Load Car Setup to save the custom one, so you can access it anytime, even in the career mode. Before we have a look at the setup and possibly take some risk out of it, we should also check out option number 2, which is loading a setup from the Steam Workshop, which only works on PC, of course. To do this, we again head to the Setup menu and press the Save/Load Car Setup button. Afterwards, select Load Steam Workshop Car Setup, which will open your list of saved workshop setups for you. If your list is empty, choose Browse Steam Workshop. Here, you can also find hundreds of custom setups to download and add to your list. If you found the right setup, click on it and hit that subscribe button. Oh no, not this one. Of course, if you don't want to miss out on future videos, feel free to get subscribed and hit the bell, but I actually meant this subscribe button. Press it and your setup will be added to your list. Unfortunately, at the moment, it's not as easy to separate the wheat from the chaff here as with the leaderboard. Yes, there is a ranking system in place with the possibility of grading the setups with stars, but at least right now, most of the setups are still without a rating at all. Of course, with time that will change, but for now, this is still kind of a hit or miss process. But don't despair, let's hop over to the custom setup screen and see if we can give our custom setup some personal flavour. Once again, we hit that Select and Customize button to get a better picture of how the setup is constructed. But let's start at the front. In terms of aerodynamics, more is better in F1 2021. Put the rear value slightly higher than the front one, and don't shy away from values like 9 and 12 on downforce heavy tracks like Barcelona, for example. Don't go lower than 5 at the front, even on top speed focused tracks like Monza, as the cars become unsettled in fast corners. Next comes the transmission settings. The on-throttle differential is not that problematic this year. Keep the value low at around 60 to 65% for stable but fast corner exits. The off-throttle adjustment, on the other hand, is rather crucial, as a lower value here will guarantee you a much better turn-in. A value between 50 and 55% is optimal. When it comes to suspension geometry, we try and trick the system as much as possible. The best turn-in and least tyre wear comes from the least camber at the front and the most camber at the rear. Toe is mostly turned off, with the wheels pointing as straight as possible. The suspension is best when set up soft. Try and keep some stiffness in the anti-roll bar, but don't overdo it, as this will lead to a nervous rear end with lots of oversteer. Also, play around with the rear ride height of the car, which will give you much more downforce in faster corners, just like in real life. And next up are the brakes. Keep the pressure near 100% or adjust it to your liking. The brake bias is best when set as low as possible without locking the rear tyres. If you want to learn why that is, check out our tutorial where we explained everything you need to know about brake bias as a whole. Here in F1 2021, the best option is 56 or 57%, depending on how smoothly you can operate the brake pedal. And lastly, there are the tyres. Again, we try to trick the system to give the most traction, even though those values won't resemble how tyres work in real life. Put as much pressure as possible in the rear and roughly 22.6 psi in the front. Of course, these tips can change over time, so check your setup before driving off. But for now, these settings should give you that extra bit of confidence on track. We hope this short setup guide helped you find the right settings for F1 2021. If so, let us know in the comments. Also, check out overtake.gg for more awesome sim racing content, or click on one of the two videos on the right. Up top, we've got the previously mentioned brake bias guide, and down below, something special just for you. Thanks so much for tuning in, and see you next time. Cheers!